Yeah, I mean, this is, we're multiple years into participating, certainly, and I think, one of the things that we often remark when we come is really how high the ambition is, right, in the region, but also really how much focus there is on exporting a lot of what's going on in the region. And certainly from an Oracle perspective, we look not as a sales region, let's say, but a place where we're really building the future of kind of AI in enterprise and for government. And thinking about how we export that, frankly, around the world with our partners.
Fantastic. And when you say partners, you certainly have partners all around the world. Oracle is part of almost every system that we know of. Masood, for you and I, based here in the UAE, I've been here for over a decade, working very closely with my Emirati brothers and sisters. It's such a blessing to welcome the world here.
Absolutely. I think this is our third participation as a main sponsor when it comes to the World Government Summit and a partner of the World Government Summit. To be quite honest, the conversations here, they're always future looking. They're always shaping not only the policies in terms of the thinking that goes on inside the organization, outside, and on the global level.
Absolutely. And I think certainly over the years, the World Government Summit certainly has taken more of a center stage when it comes to these global dialogues. Carl, thank you so much for jetting in, especially to join us. What are your first few impressions of being here at the World Government Summit?
This is my second year here, and last night when I was having dinner with a couple of friends, I was just reflecting on the fact that I made a lot of friends last year, and we got to meet again this year. And throughout the year, we've been doing other things in other countries together. But this is such a great convening ground for new ideas and interesting people.
Absolutely, and I think that's where it's really key that we do welcome our key speakers and audience back to continue the dialogues. And the reason I really wanted to begin there is that earlier today, we began the AI Forum and really talked about the tech-heavy focused conversations. And again, they keep saying, don't just rely on the tech, it's all about that personal connection. Now, Simon, Oracle, what you're doing, connecting the world and ensuring that we all run on your wonderful systems. Let's go into the details of this particular session here today. Humans and agents. We're looking at the next frontier when it comes to productivity. First, let's define, what do we mean by those terms there, the humans and the agents involved?
So, I think, we're really talking about what I would call kind of the next generation, let's say, of automation is ultimately where we are. And the goal, if I were to summarize it, is really to take all of the clerical work out of, our government and commercial users' hands, really, and put that in the hands of tooling, and then allow the human really to be in the middle and almost sort of manage the program, if you will. It's evolving very quickly, though, right? Like, we have a lot of focus on talking about models, and that tends to be the sort of the big topic because it's one everyone knows. But ultimately now, in what we do in region with our partners and with our customers and government customers, is we're talking more and more about much finer grain sort of teams of agents working with humans in a broader program with really specialty roles, as a way of kind of advancing this cause of removing kind of clerical work, putting humans in the middle to control the outcome, and ultimately, enabling kind of much finer grain control over our organizations and how we deliver to citizens.
And when it comes to advising business leaders on autonomous AI agents, what would you say is the next kind of step that they should be taking in their approach to investing in this new type of AI technology?
Yeah, so we're obviously, we have a long history in the data world, so it's a bit deterministic, but ultimately, like, getting your data into a place where you can consume it, use it, and at least begin to understand it and expose it tends to be ultimately the first and most important investment, and the one that, whether it's at a nation state level or at a commercial customer level, really separates those that are making a lot of progress from those that aren't, frankly.
And Masood, to build on Simon's points there in terms of the application, when it comes to EAND, being the CEO there, can you talk us through how you've moved or where you can anticipate that transition from AI agents moving from experimentation to application?
If you allow me, maybe allow me to take one step back and paint the picture, because there's a great opportunity here where we have technologists on both sides of the table. And I would say also, we define ourselves as a techco, but also we are a user of technology at the end of the day. So from us, as a telecom operator that has aspiration to become what we call a techco, this is a golden opportunity when it comes to the potential of what AI could represent. There are three aspects that today AI impacts us and will impact us and should impact us. Two of them are common to any other business out there in the world. The third one is unique to us. The first one, which is unique to us, is that eventually AI is eaten up and requires compute capability, requires ultra low latency connectivity and the management of that connectivity. So on the infra and the enablement side, today what we're seeing, and we're playing an active role, is that telcos are playing an active role in the infra, what we call an AI fabric connectivity and the routing of all of that, and the most efficient use of the all combined connectivity and compute power, because while today there's mega investments that are happening globally, at a certain point the efficiency will be a factor. So this element is, I would say, unique to within the telco world. The other two aspects that are general and that they cut across any other businesses is that what would AI, where the gist of your question, what would AI do internally in terms of the way we run our operation, in terms of the way we carry our workflows and processes and all that. And the third aspect is the relationship between us and our customers, be it government, be it enterprise, be it consumer. How will AI impact the relationship? How deep it's going to be in terms of predictability, in terms of efficiency, in terms of giving the end customers, all segments of them, what they need and in order to use this compute power. When it comes to applying AI internally, we've had 1,000+ use cases. We've had a AI value creation council. We've progressed a lot when it came to that. But I do believe today, to be quite honest, the telco world or any other entities that are similar, we're not going to go to develop our own models, for sure. That's something that we leave out there. There is a dependency to the SaaS providers out there to start. And our vendor, and Oracle is a great example, the partnership with them, what we had on the DRCC, Oracle DRCC, and in terms of the capabilities that can extend on their systems. So those are the large enterprise. But then again, we're seeing also small, up-and-coming startups that are offering promising capabilities when it comes to AI and use cases. And they will be, we've heard this morning in the session, is that the greater utilization when it comes to use cases more likely will come from them because they're narrow, defined, specific, and they can tackle a task. We're dealing with not only with Aleria, we're dealing, let's say, on the software level, we're dealing with ServiceNow. We've done a lot of automation, a lot of intelligent smart routing, etc., and all that. We've invested in applied AI last year as well, where they're doing a lot of back office automation and they're doing a lot of AI enablement within certain defined areas. So today, those providers, they will play a role. Internally, in terms of the use cases that we've gone out, we've had many. In terms of build shock identification, in terms of we've had a capability that we rolled out, which is visual identification of, let's say, erroneous connectivity when it comes to the router at home, where it helped visually identify the errors and correct them with all users on the phone. It helped reduce our truck rolls by 40%. There are many examples. But what we need right now is a couple of things, and within the customer value management as well. We need the cases that will catch scale. They'll be able to be scaled across the organization. And we need to really dwell deep into the agentic capabilities and what they can do in terms of increase of productivity. Sorry for a long-winded answer, but this is sort of, I wanted to explain overall our role and how we're looking at it.
I really appreciate you giving us that context, because that deep dive allows us to understand what's happening at EAND, but also this notion that your answer was very discursive and it brought in the startups. And you're absolutely right, Masood. Here at the AI Forum, we have shone a light on how perhaps startups might be the place where we actually see a more kind of evident way that AI agents are playing a role. But the big enterprises, the partnership with Oracle, they give us loads of practical takeaways when we speak about this notion of making workflows more efficient. Lots of threads there. I'm going to be pulling on them both in just a moment, but I'm going to bring in Carl. Carl, from an AI agent development point of view, what would you say, building on what Masood and Simon have already mentioned there?
Yeah, I've been doing some vibe coding recently. I first tried to do it about a year ago, and I found the models weren't smart enough. They kind of, every interaction introduced more bugs than actually solving problems. But sometime in December, I think the models got really strong. So in January, when I started vibe coding again, I was really impressed by the capability difference. So now, me, as somebody not very technical, I can make a full stack Android application for one of our phones.
I'm just going to interrupt for just a moment. You said someone who's not very tech savvy, but you're being far too modest. Just in case there's audience members who are also not tech savvy, let's just break down exactly what you mean. Take us back. You said last January you started this. So what do we mean? This January.
Yeah.
So literally, as in this year. This is breaking news. Break it down in terms of in accessible terms.
So I spent some time in San Francisco because I felt the AI revolution was happening there. I'm usually based in London. I felt quite far away from the action. So I spent 2 weeks there. I started reconnecting with my friends. One of my friends said, hey, I have this new startup, and we're like 5 people, but the entire company is vibe coded. And he showed me the product. It's very interesting that you can do this much. So I told him, I tried vibe coding, it doesn't really work. He's like, no, let me show you. So we were hanging out, and he was showing me step by step how to register for the Anthropic account, how to set up Cloud Code, use Opus 4.5, how to set up all these things. So as I started using it, just in a week, I made 2 apps that I've, for a long time, wanted to have on our smartphones to provide to our users. Now, it's not a perfect quality yet. It still has to go through polishing and QA, but everything works. So that got me thinking, like, what does the future look like? Because the traditional software development model is you have product managers, you have engineers, and you have designers. And the product managers, they spec the product, they manage the timeline. Designers design how it looks and feels, UI, UX, and engineers actually just go and make it. But in the future, you don't need all of those people anymore. You just need one person who kind of understands the user, their pain points, kind of understands taste and design, and the engineering will be done by the AI, but you need to know a little bit about code in case you need to debug things. So that really will collapse the stack of the organization of the future when it comes to software development. We haven't started doing it. It's something that's very top of mind. And to add to that, this weekend I was chatting with a friend who's a CEO of a publicly traded tech company, and they've gone even further. I think that they're one of the kind of furthest along in deploying this in production. They're beginning to think about software development more as in like manufacturing. What do I mean by that? They want the factory to always be on. So let's say you have a traditional factory, and sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. That's not good. You want it to always be running to maximize the efficiency. So now when it comes to software development, at the end of the day, the engineers have to prepare the tasks for the AI to do in the evening when they're at home or when they're sleeping. And on Friday afternoon, they have to prepare the tasks for the AI to do during the weekend. So it's like always on in the future.
I mean, that's so fascinating to hear you talk us through it, breaking down what you've just done in the last few weeks. It sounds like by the end of the World Government Summit, there'll be a couple of apps there to be shared. Simon, let me bring you in on some of the key points that Carl's mentioned there. It echoes back to the conversation I had with Arvind Krishna earlier today in the AI forum here. I put to him, AI, it's that perennial question that comes up. Job creation or job disruption? Carl just mentioned there that collapse of organizations. Him, his friends, can literally do the software development, designing themselves.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think this is a really brilliant example. And I'd actually encourage everyone to even if you've never touched a lick of code, it's actually quite easy to really like train yourself and walk through this. Cloud Code's a great example. There's a number of them. I think it's changing ultimately the nature of the work, right? And there's a really great study that came out, I want to say 3 or 4 months ago, about kind of liberal arts backgrounds versus core engineering backgrounds and ability to interact with models and accomplish what I would call kind of broad engineering tasks, where the model is ultimately kind of delivering the kind of core content that is, we've been training for some time, and really the user who's got an experience with the use case or has an understanding of what the end user would like or what they would like from it is really able to interact with that model and come out to an engineering endpoint. Coding and one of the things we don't talk a lot, if I look at our teams, ultimately a lot of the work that you're doing is sort of setup, right? And I do a lot of this in my personal life, you're creating kind of the attributes of a file that you would like to then go and do the 1 or 2 things that are really kind of analytical and laden with the value that is maybe the application's function. we're removing a lot of that setup work and getting you right kind of down to the critical item. I would say in general in the enterprise, whether you're talking about developers or you're talking about general tasks, that's what we're talking about, right? Like, especially when we get into things like agent swarms, so having lots of agents with different roles attacking a problem, we're creating a little assembly line with very fine-grained, focused workers that have a simple task. We're able to manage risk around that task really acutely and accurately. And then we're sort of stacking it up into a team structure where we're able to create an outcome that is a little bit bigger. It is a microcosm of an assembly line that you would see in an automotive plant today. And that's really the rotation that is happening everywhere, where people with liberal arts degrees actually tend to be really good at this, is what the study would sort of tell us. But also it's changing the nature of the work and the kinds of interactions people are having with their work, and in some ways improving it. I think there's lots of people who maybe kind of do a lot of clerical things all day, and they think that's their role, when really what we want them doing is the analytical work. And I think our hope is, and our belief is, that that's the transition that, frankly, as a race, we're sort of getting ready to turn the corner on.
And I certainly appreciate you, Simon, there taking the focus of this session, the next productivity frontier, and making it just really super accessible to us all. You're saying the nature of the workplace is changing. It's changing in the front of our very eyes, as Carl's just said, that breaking news of what he's been up to in January. Masood, I'm going to bring you in now. It's beholden on me to bring in the words governance guardrails at this point. We spoke off stage about sovereignty and creating sovereign assets to ensure that we have that type of safety, that regulation, that monitoring, to ensure it's not a wild west when it comes to the AI world and AI agents. Your thoughts?
So it's important to strike a balance. It's important for us as we are experimenting, and we are in experimentation age globally, okay, regardless of the claims that you have and all that, in terms of what's really catching scale when it comes to AI productivity or utilization. It's very important to strike a balance. So sovereignty doesn't mean just that you have a sovereign cloud. It means the cybersecurity that you are sort of attaching to it. It means being ready with quantum compute capabilities that goes on it. But also means as well being very, very aware, and you run your filters when it comes to different compliance and different, let's say, data privacy laws as well. And data privacy laws, be the GDPR or the data law as well, that we take very seriously and we apply, is not the ultimate standard. The standard in terms of the ethics, which is the people and the human element as well. And that is something that we pay heavy attention to in terms of making sure that beyond these rules and policies that apply, and beyond the cybersecurity guardrails that we have, and beyond the sovereign sort of construct and structures, infrastructure that we have, the human aspect and the training that goes on there is very important. So once you put all of these together, you need to be mindful not to choke innovation. So this is very important for us. So we need to continue to be experimenting and as well when it comes to use cases. There'll always be, there'll always be the risk. And if cybersecurity had taught us anything, is that bad actors, there'll always be in any discipline that you go into. It's very important to be very closely monitoring, reacting very quickly. I mean, an example that I was discussing with one of my cyber security colleagues is that back in November, an actor who went and sort of tried to bypass the ethics guardrails of Claude, where it trained it and actually step by step almost fooled it to go and do a cyber attack on a variety of entities. Of course, those were in a safe environment. Some of them were lab environments, but the bad actor at that end, the guardrails were there, the ethics guardrails within Claude were all there, and they were all correct, and they acted very correctly, but simply the person did not say, go and attack this entity. He said, I'm facing an issue with accessing this. Can you test why is it failing? And built a script on that, automated it, and started doing 24/7, as you say, and at the end, it ended up leading this capability to go and commission a bad act in definition in terms of bioethics. So we need to be watchful of the human element as well on top of all of that.
And I appreciate you giving us that reality check. Let me put what you said to Carl there. The spirit of experimentation, we're very much in it. We want to embrace it. But how do we do it in a way that doesn't choke innovation? You're someone who is innovating. A short answer, please, because we are running out of time.
Yeah, I think the next thing to learn about is how to do QA, quality assurance with agents as well. So you have multiple agents. Some agents do the production work. and some do the quality assurance in terms of does this code work and is it safe enough?
And Simon, if I may bring you in for a final word there. You're on many global stages with your global expertise here. What makes conversations here at the AI Forum at the World Government Summit really stand out for you? We are not shy of having that reality check.
It's this. So, there we go. It's this combination of really policy and the technical conversation. I mean, sovereignty is not a line. It's a whole series of decisions that are actually quite detailed technically. And so, I think what's so important here and what we're especially interested in is that kind of interplay between how do we set policy and then how do we support that technically so it's efficient, sort of cost efficient and practical for nations. And that's really only something you can have in a forum like this.
Absolutely. And the final word, if I may give it to you, Masood. Here on the World Government stage, we are very blessed to have all our global leaders in terms of business and government come, learn, share, experiment. You mentioned that word, that spirit of experimentation. But let's end on that last word about how unique the UAE is in particular in embracing the experimentation and taking a forefront when it comes to AI, innovation, development, and having those guardrails in place.
Okay, I'll be honest, not without any bias or anything, honestly. Today, I think the UAE is truly capturing or making sure that we do not miss out on the opportunity of AI enablement, AI sort of proliferation within the system, be it government, enterprise, be it consumer, be it the whole system. And I think this comes from a conscious belief that this is good for all, for the UAE, for humanity as well. So you see the efforts that are today being undertaken. These are efforts that will not just serve the UAE market, will serve the global AI market globally. And this is a bet that everyone is put in today. And this bet will pay off. And if you ask me the question, I always like that question that Quest was asking, optimistic or pessimistic, very optimistic about the potential, what this will do, the beautiful disruption that will do. And I say beautiful disruption because it's going to create so many amazing capabilities, productivity gain, and new sectors that we're not even aware of today.
I think that's a very empowering message to end on, that beautiful disruption and that spirit of optimism that you do bring to the conversation, because we're not shy of the reality check that the AI Forum allows us to have. Do you have those kind of nuanced, detailed conversations? But certainly as someone who's been based here for over a decade, I would say there's no bias in what you've said there. The AI certainty world has been embraced by the UAE and they have stepped up with our international partners and innovators as well. And on that note, distinguished guests, please give all our panelists a big round of applause for sharing their opinions with us all. Thank you.